Well, here you are with Dan on the 24th of April 2020 in Essex, UK in the polytunnel. So today I'm going to be making a video talking a little bit about some exotics that I'm growing here in the UK, talk a little bit about them, a bit about growing exotics in a non-ideal climate, and give you an update on some of the things that many of you are well aware that I am indeed growing already. So let's go. Right, we will make a start here, and what this is my banana plant, Musa Cavendish, dwarf Cavendish. Now, you can see that it's doing very, very well, and one thing I like about the Cavendish banana is this really beautiful sort of pattern that you get on the new leaves. So you can see the older leaves, they tend to go a little bit like this. This just happens, particularly if one is keeping them outside, you know, and the wind comes. But it's looking very, very healthy indeed. I'll just show you down here, looking at the, the stem of it. So what I've done is I've overwintered it in this little pot here. Now this is the pot, in fact, it came in. And if you check out my channel from, well, must have been September, October last year. That was when I purchased this plant, and I've been very happy with it. Overwintered it inside because it will not tolerate frost, and you can see it's putting a pup up here. So there is a possibility that this could one day produce edible bananas. So that would be wonderful if it happens. I'm hoping it's going to happen this year. Now, what I need to do is put it into a bigger pot. This is nowhere near a big enough pot for me to get the best out of this plant. If I put it into a bigger pot, I should end up with more pups coming from it, such as this one, that I can propagate from and hopefully get it to fruit. Now, if that could happen, I would be amazed. So if one is going to get a banana plant to fruit here in the UK or a similar climate, here in the UK, this is probably one of the best places to be if one wishes to do that, because here in the southeast we do tend to get some of the warmer and longer summers here in the UK. And I remember looking that someone in a place called Ardleigh here in Essex, Ardleigh, did get their banana plant to fruit. So if you want a bit of inspiration, it's worth typing that in, and you may be able to see the report on that. Whether they got it totally to edible fruit or whether it just flowered, I can't remember. But either way, the report is worth checking out. Okay, so what else can we talk about? Okay, so we've got the coffee plant down here. Now this is looking very, very good indeed. I purchased this last year, and once again I have overwintered this inside because once again it will not tolerate frost. Got a bit of a, look at that, look. A primrose in need of a bit of, or primula in need of a bit of water. So yes, you can see this here is looking very, very nice. The leaves are looking quite healthy, and we've got some new leaves here. The older leaves tend to be like a sort of darker green colour, and I've been feeding this throughout the winter with liquid seaweed, and it's done quite well. So once again, I may repot this into a bigger pot when one is overwintering, or indeed has things like this inside. It's nice to have them in saucers so that it can hold the water, and the fact that it won't go all over your carpet or your flooring or whatever. Okay, so another exotic that I'm growing here is this lovely blood orange tree. So I'm very, very happy with this. It does need a bit of TLC. I've overwintered it here in the polytunnel, okay, in this 25 to 30 litre pot. So it's been in here all of last autumn, all of the winter up until now. And I have been protecting it with an additional cover. So basically, I'll show you what I used. This here, okay, which is basically the cover of a mini greenhouse cold frame stroke mini polytunnel. Very similar, as you can see, to the cover of the polytunnel. So what I did was, so I didn't restrict its light levels too much, when frosts were imminent, I was covering it with that. Now, it has to be said that we didn't have a particularly cold winter, okay? Not like we did have during that Beast from the East spell. If that had happened, I'd have been very vigilant in terms of protecting it, and I may have even taken it inside, but I didn't need to this year, and I watered it about once every week to once every 10 days during the winter, and you can see it's still looking quite healthy. And you can see there are little buds of white here ready to, like this one, so should be getting some blossom. Now there are a few little oranges on it, such as this one here, and you can see there some have fell off, such as this, but that indeed happens. And I'm expecting this tree to, you know, once it gets a bit more bulk to it, to then be able to produce a good size orange, and if that happened, that would be wonderful. So we'll go over to here, and the peppers variety Onavec, you can see I've got the first flower on there and there. Now when I sowed these peppers, I sowed them last December, okay? So if one thinks about this is quite early to start sowing seeds, but I would advise, if people are going to be growing peppers, chilies, to sow them about that time, because the plants can take a little bit of time to get going. And you can see, so we're into April now, and they're just starting to come, into production a little bit. So if one had sowed them, say now, by the time they're in production, the weather might not be there for the fruit to produce and ripen, you get me? So very much worth, if you're growing peppers and chilies, to sow them quite early in the season. But of course one then has to have the correct microclimate, and I grow mine in a south-facing windowsill, protected from frost, and still gets some nice sunlight. So there we go. Now I have some more peppers here. Okay, you can see them. Now they've been stunted because I've left them in these little cell trays. So they are Onavec as well. And I need to take them out and put them into some bigger pots. Now I have a piece of Thai basil here. So I managed to get that one to germinate. I've got plenty more seeds. I'm going to try them again. This begonia, this came from a cutting that I was given. Not a cutting, but like a little sort of, I don't know how you explain it really. A propagation sort of branch or stem, if you will, from the existing one. That's looking really lovely. Now everything I've showed you just now is frost tender, okay? It's not hardy, so got to be protected from frost. But what we're going to do now is to look at some hardy exotics. And one of the benefits of growing hardy exotics is just that. They are hardy in our climate. So we're going to go and have a look, and we'll have a little chat about those. Okay, so you can see here on the right, this is pomegranate, variety Provence, fully hardy down to about -10 degrees C. But one thing about growing pomegranates is they don't tend to blossom until around August. So of course, with regards to producing fruit, August, September, October, you're starting to get into sort of the colder months here in the UK. So of course, less likely for the fruit to ripen. One may be able to, utilise a polytunnel or a greenhouse and have a bit of luck with the weather. We'll see what happens. Okay, so here you go. I've got a grapevine growing in a pot here. This is a very small specimen I took from a cutting. The majority of you have already seen, my grape projects, and you've, check out the playlist if you're interested, if you want to talk more about grapes. Right, this is Persimmon, variety Fuyu, otherwise known as Sharon fruit. So that's looking very, very healthy. And this is the other Sharon fruit stroke persimmon, variety Rojo Brilliante. Bigger tree than the rest. So these are all perfectly suitable to grow here in the UK, at least in the southeast. But if I was going to choose one hardy exotic to grow, I would choose a grape. Okay, I've spoken a lot about them before, but I have seen persimmon grown perfectly perfectly acceptable here in the UK. I've got a tree video on my channel if you want to check that one out, and you can see a mature specimen producing fruit, but it's not ideal, okay, and south-facing wall or fence is a very good idea in these regards. So for those of you who are new to my channel, I'll show you one of my grapevines, Lakemont Seedless, and you could see that carrying a good crop here, fully hardy here in the UK, will benefit from south facing wall or fence, and hopefully this will be carrying a very good crop and will produce very well later in the year. So there you go, there's a little bit of how the exotics are getting on. The yuzu is not looking too impressive. We'll have a look at that. Allegedly this is hardy down to -10 degrees C, and it's certainly tolerated, the winter hardiness wise, but a lot of the leaves have curled and fell off, but new ones are coming out, so maybe it's going to be okay. Right, so with regards to my gardening efforts, I like to do a little bit of everything, okay? And yes, I've got a fair degree of exotics and also quite a bit of the more sort of standard stuff for growing here in the UK. But with everything going on, I'm going to be gravitating more towards getting really good crops, okay? I'm still going to be paying attention to exotics, obviously, but I think with everything going on, food production is, incredibly important. So there we go. So any comments, questions or whatever's on exotics, please feel free to post, comments, questions on anything really, post them as well. So if you like my work, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and you can check me out on Dan_Home Gardens on Instagram if indeed you are interested. See you next time.